Today, my article is one about some parents who are really struggling right now. The headline reads: Couple allegedly smoked weed while autistic son left apartment unnoticed and drowned in a nearby pond.
Mm.
Sadly, a Florida couple is facing a felony manslaughter charge after their 3-year-old autistic child drowned in a pond while the two had allegedly been smoking marijuana inside their home, according to court documents. Lester Ortiz, 39, and Barbara Ruiz, 37, called the Stanford Police Department in the afternoon on Saturday and reported that their 3-year-old son Ethan had been missing from their apartment for around 30 minutes, according to the arrest report. Ruiz reportedly told the officers that Ethan had run off at least 3 times before, but had been brought back to the apartment complex's front office by a neighbor, according to the report. According to Ruiz, she was in the bathroom around 30 minutes before the police arrived when she heard the front door open and close and asked her 15-year-old daughter to check the door, but did not realize that Ethan had left. Ruiz said then that she called Ortiz to see if Ethan was with him, but Ortiz was in the apartment's other bathroom without the boy, according to the report. Ortiz and Ruiz then reportedly began to look for Ethan inside the home and near the pond directly behind their apartment, per the report. Investigators noted that in the report that Ortiz had a, quote, strong odor of fresh marijuana coming from his clothing, bloodshot eyes, and was sweating profusely. Ruiz also had bloodshot eyes in the inside of their apartment, and they described the apartment as being in a state of disarray. Smelled of marijuana, per the arrest report. The search of the home found marijuana, cocaine, and drug paraphernalia. Around 20 minutes after arriving on the scene, officers noticed an unknown object floating in the pond and discovered it was the body of the missing 3-year-old child. Ethan was taken to the local hospital by the fire department and pronounced dead shortly thereafter. According to the Florida Department of Children and Families, this was not the first time they had received reports about Ethan. In March, the agency said he was found knee-deep in the pond after he unlocked the front door, but was found by neighbors since Ortiz was allegedly sleeping and had not noticed the son's escape, according to the arrest report. The couple's other son, a 6-year-old, also diagnosed with autism, had also gone missing the year prior, the child agency reported. Ortiz and Ruiz told investigators that they both held medical marijuana cards and, quote, smoked marijuana on a regular basis, according to the arrest report. They were both arrested and are being held without bond at an arraignment scheduled for November 14th, according to court records. Now, you guys, there's a lot to consider here. What I can tell you from personal experience is that I was a social worker that focused on working with families who had children diagnosed with autism. And what I can tell you also is that I have a brother who's diagnosed with autism. And kids with disabilities struggle to communicate, but they still have all the same desires that kids of their typical. They want to go outside, they want to see what's happening in the world, and yet they don't have the capability necessarily to really take care of themselves properly. And it is a very hard challenge to be a family member or a caretaker of one child on the autism spectrum, let alone two. Um, Cannabis, in my opinion, is meant to be something that was supposed to be a helpful tool, a coping mechanism for these parents. And while I don't know what's happening in their home, um, I really can't blame cannabis for this particular. I'm curious all about today and the Sacramento actually wins.
Yeah, Mandy, I think you hit on a really, really important point right there that I think often gets overlooked in a lot of these types of stories is that the problem is more with the parenting than with the actual substance.
Yeah, man. This one cuts me deep, man, because my daughter has autism,
Hmm.
and it's no parent wants to outlive their kids. But yeah, just knowing that this autistic kid um could have been in better care, man.
Hmm.
It's on the
Yeah.
parents.
Yeah,
So
listen, thoughts and prayers to the family
sad.
and
Facts.
everybody around that for sure.
Without a doubt.
So
Super
too
sad,
is
man.
like, you know, these headlines, and I hate to like bring it to this, but these headlines to me are just ripped right from like prohibitionist like script books. Like
Playbook.
it says
Yeah, man.
couple, I think it was couple allegedly smokes weed while son goes out and drowns in the pool. Like it makes it sound
Hmm.
so callous and like just like, oh, like this couple
It's like
decided to smoke weed instead of go watch their son. Like
exactly.
that's very, very,
Yeah.
very loaded language. It's misleading. Um, you know, just because the officer showed up and there was a smell of marijuana in the room or in the house, like that doesn't mean that they were smoking while the kid went out there. That doesn't mean that they were even smoking within the last few hours or that day. It could have been, you know what I mean? So this is just ridiculous. I hate to like, take a tragedy and point out that ridiculousness of this kind of sensational journalism, but this is what we deal with when the plant has been demonized in this sense for so
Yes.
long.
Hmm.
You're going to see these type of headlines until we start to further educate this stuff. This has nothing to do with cannabis. This has everything to do with parenting. These parents had two children with autism, and they probably weren't trained. They probably didn't have the tools and capabilities to be able to take care of kids that had special needs and stuff like that. I don't know their specific situation, but it's a tragedy altogether. But it's a tragedy that didn't have anything to do with cannabis.
Yeah, this is just neglect. This is neglect.
Hmm.
Period.
Straight up, just bad
Sad, man.
parenting. This had,
I mean, oh, sorry. I was just going to say that, by the rules when you're using cannabis, according to where they're at, they had medical cards, right? So they had that documentation.
hmm
And when you are a parent, supervising your kid is your number one responsibility, period.
Yep.
hmm
Doesn't drinking alcohol if you're at a birthday party, it doesn't matter where you're at. Um, but parents with children who have disabilities need extra support because it is so incredibly taxing
It's tough.
psychologically, physically,
Yep.
financially. It is so much more difficult. And parenting is fucking hard. Okay. Add a child with disabilities or two kids with disabilities, man, community, I hope you have one that supports you.
hmm
Just
Well
super
said.
Facts is
sad
Well,
sad.
all
yeah.
the way around.
Well said,
Hmm.
Andy.